Can you hear?
All right.
Can everyone?
It's all yours, Mike.
You can hear me? Okay.
Sure.
Okay. My name is Mike Kolas. I'm born in Chicago. I'm 53 years old, just to give you a little bit of background. I've always been very interested in travel and aviation ever since I was a kid. So this is kind of how things kind of, and I've always been very creative. Pretty much
Mike K, you're breaking up.
Since young, and I kind of feel like I still am. So I plan to feed my traveling. Can you hear now? Is that better? Is it breaking up?
You're coming in a little better.
Uh-oh. Okay. So through the years of a lot of air travel and business travel, I always had the idea that I needed more space, just like any air traveler does. So I created my product that that is, I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard of it, but it's called the BevLedge, and it's called the In-Flight Window Organization Station. BevLedge is a brand new travel accessory. It's only been on the market for literally 3 to 4 years. I've been working on the process for about 8 years because it took me 4 years of patent work to actually get it to where I needed it to be. I actually had to go through 3 appeals over 4 years to actually get awarded anything, and I ended up getting 2 utility patents and a design patent out of it, which was great. So my product is a brand new travel accessory. Here it is. Here, it's very slim, slips right in and out of your carry-on. Slips right out, very thin, unfolds, folds up, slips right into the window slot of most commercial aircraft, just like you've shown here. So when using it, hold your drinks. Your cell phone, of course, that we always seem to lose in between the seat. Your sunglasses. And other accessories such as ear pods now and such. So that just gives you a pretty good idea of it. Like I said, it took me about 4 years to develop it, and it's only been on the market for 3 years now. And of course, COVID did not help, but it seems to be definitely making some traction now. Of course, these things take time, as we all know, going through the processes, but it seems to start to be paying off. Recently, we just actually presented it to a large commercial airline who seems very interested. Other than that, I was going to open. Do you have any questions or anything that I think I should share that I haven't?
What's it made out of, Mike?
It's made out of polyethylene plastic. So it's very durable. Okay. The process of creating it became very simple, which is also very important, of course, when you're manufacturing. It's a very important thing to have a very simple product, cost-wise. So it's very cost-effective. It's very durable. It's very hard to break. I'll show you.
Well, you don't have to break it for us, but
yeah, it's really just have it for many years of air travel. Slips right into your carry-on or your suitcase. You don't even have it. It's a really great thing. It's a very good accessory, just for convenience, especially when flying with groups or kids. It's great for the window and I say the middle seat companion, because it does hold 2 drinks. So when there's 2 people and they need to get up and use the washroom, it's a great other option to have, especially when you do have to exit. The good thing about this product especially compared to a lot of other products, I believe, and it has been recommended by a lot of flight attendants. Is it does not stick out from the back of a window seat, which they don't like because that can obstruct an emergency. So this is much more FAA like user friendly, which is a great thing. It's off to the side for safety purposes. So
When you're presenting to the airline, did it come up that it had to be sanitary or easily cleanable or whatever?
it is very easily cleanable. I think that's something that they're going to have to work around. I did bring up some key points pertaining to, I did a lot of research, and airlines are starting to put in cup holders and such on back of seats, but again, it's sticking out from the back of a seat. They like the idea of this being different. And there are sanitary purposes. This is another option to a dirty tray table, especially during COVID, I think. In other words, and it's cleaned and handled by the passenger, not by the airline, unless they decide to actually incorporate them into a jet and it stays there stationary. I'm not sure how they would do that, but I don't think they're going along those lines because of the sanitary purposes. So it's really up to the owner to keep it sanitary for the most part.
Mike, I know you've been talking to an airline about purchasing them from you. What's the risk of theft by a passenger who would like to take this thing home and use it in another airline because they fly frequently?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly what angle they're looking at going at. They did generally say they want them to see them on every airplane, but I don't know how they're going to go about it. And this is where I'm actually sitting and waiting to see what they collaborate and decide with their ideas. Hopefully they'll come up with a creative way to distribute it or sell it. They talked about selling it on their website, or even in some of their their lounges, their first class lounges, or people that visit the lounges in the airports. They've talked about a lot of different angles. I don't know how they're going to do it on the airplane. That's a good question, because it's just like the headphones. How do you get those back? And then also, again, the sanitation purpose. Do the flight attendants want to have to like these and keep? So those are a lot of areas I'm kind of waiting to hear from them, see what come up.
What's your cost? I mean, if you sold them to the airlines? Let's say they bought 10,000 of them. What do you think you'd charge them? Yeah, and you don't have to be precise, just neighborhood.
Give you a range because there's some variables. They actually also talked about using a different color plastic, which is possible, but those can change price too. I would say in large quantities, it can range from anywhere from $10 to $20.
Yeah, the reason I was curious is that I have in my drawer of little miscellaneous electronic things, I probably got a dozen packs of earphones. And on top of that, I got, I don't know, they used to be that you could go on the airline pre-COVID and you could ask for a blanket and get it, or a pillow and get it. And if they get you one now, it's in a hermetically sealed plastic and they don't want it back.
Right.
So I don't know what their tolerance is, but could you change let's presume that the airlines was interested in a one-use type of thing. Would that change your material specs any, and so that make it cheaper? Because let's suppose they come in saying, well, we could stand $5 a piece. Could you make it out of just plain cardboard for $5 a piece?
I've actually already tested that, and it does not work well, because I thought of a disposable version for maybe 2 or 3 uses, tops. I went through extensive testing on that for probably a year, and I could never find the exact material to actually perform properly, to be honest with you. That's why I came back to the polyethylene, because I thought that would be a great idea for a cheaper version. This lists for $17.99 on Amazon. I think, yeah, I mean, I would say probably between $10 and $12, because you have to also understand their product is going to be have much more detail printing. That would probably drive their price up. Yet it's a very good promotional product, and it's becoming more and more of a promotional product because I can pretty much stamp anybody's name here, which I have done for AAA travel, like you saw, and some other companies. And the good thing about this product is it's not like a pen. It lasts for years and years. It's not like a pen or a chapstick that, promotional products that we use for a month and we throw away. This will be in your suitcase or your carry-on for a very, very long time. Showing your brand is a great, plus, which kind of justifies the cost is what I'm trying to say.
How much do you charge for imprinting?
I'm sorry, for what?
How much do you charge for imprinting? Putting a logo or a company name onto your item?
Well, it usually ranges depending on the colors. The colors can range differently. They can be either anywhere from like probably $1.50 to. Did I lose you?
You're cutting in and out a bit.
Am I? Can you hear me now?
Sometimes, maybe when you lean towards the phone, it's cutting out. So
Is it?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, I'll try stationary to keep it stationary so we can get a signal. Is that better?
Yeah, right now it is. I am curious about the little door you use a demo. Did you make that yourself or have someone make it or?
Oh, this is actually a true airplane window. See that?
Yes.
I had it. I actually went to the graveyards in central Arizona, south of Phoenix, where they retire a lot of aircraft, and I went and bought it there.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'd like to for one. It is an older version, but my product works in the old ones and the new ones actually. So,
Mike K, is your product somewhat adjustable in case there's a variation in the window size?
no, not at this time. There isn't. I have done trials for that, but the good thing is it does work in most large commercial aircraft, Boeing and Airbus, which is a lot of aircraft. There's actually only 2 Boeing and Airbus aircrafts that I know of that it does not work in. It definitely works in the majority. And I just say most because I can't say all of them because of those 2 aircraft.
Well, I'm just thinking about what I have heard about airlines, and I don't know if they're as bad as car manufacturers, but they probably want it, well, like everybody, they want to be as cheap as possible but functional. But I've been on a lot of flights. I used to travel a heck of a lot, and I think I'd like to have that. God knows, when you're what kills me is I think they've gotten away from it because I haven't traveled that much lately, but they used to give you a can of pop and then a glass. And none of those fold down tables have 2 notches in it for things.
Right.
I think we have Diane showing up here. Is that right, Greg?
I am here.
Yes. Hi, Diane.
Hi there. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties.
Well, we're having some here, so join the club.
Okay.
exactly.
Well, Zoom has been non-cooperative for me lately.
Tell me.
Well, I'd be upset myself, but I have a cell tower about less than a quarter mile. I can look out my back window and see it out there smiling at me. So when I have interruptions, I get irritated. But so I know that some people, they can't see the cell tower. So knowing that the waves go in a straight line, I can see people having problems.
It's just been technology issues, not so much having a signal. But anyhow,
I think Mike if you can hear me, can you show your thing again for Diane? Just hold it up there so she can see what it is.
So I actually looked you up, and I found your website and I looked at the product, and it's really cool. I also found your patents. So good job. I can definitely see the utility for that design.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nice.
It is a nice travel accessory to have, especially when you're traveling and you need all the space on your tray table, like I did for decades. You know, 'cause I did,
Mhm.
and you know, I mean, I would have to get up to use the washroom, and had no place to put my drink. I would actually put my shoe. So, I mean, you know, what do you do?
Unless your neighbor's willing to hold it for you. But even then, without a little recess, it's always concerning that it's just going to slide right off onto your lap.
Yeah, and what's nice about it, like I like to say, is it's good for the window and the middle seat companion. So instead of asking the middle companion to hold your drink, you could tell them I'll hold yours if you let me out. You know.
A little bartering going on the airplane.
Right.
Well, that's a better story of the fisticuffs I've been hearing lately.
It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so Mike, so have you done any deals like with any airlines? Are they interested in making that an accessory, or how's your development, commercially been going?
Well, most of my development is on social touch. We did have some breakthroughs with some really good posts and some people just like, posting some things to the point where actually I was a major airline did contact me, and I did a presentation actually to them last week. So pretty much all I'm doing now is sitting back to see if they, come up with some sort of game plan. I'm hoping that they do use it, but
Have you tried any of the private airlines, or I should say what would we got?
Charters,
Who?
charters.
Charters, yeah.
Like
Charters,
NetJets?
NetJet. That's who I was trying to think of. Thank you, Diane.
I'm sorry, which one? What is it called? NetJet?
NetJet. Yeah, they're centered here. I believe their headquarters is still here in Columbus.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah. As long as it's large commercial aircraft, Boeing and Airbus, the product will work. Some of the smaller Lear jets and such, they won't work. It won't work on those. It's really pretty much anything over 120 passengers. But I mean, in a roundabout way, I've actually contacted not just those type of companies like charters, but taken it to the point where I've gotten a lot of attention from travel agents who actually set up the groups. And we're trying to go after cruise lines, seeing that it is a promotional product and you can print your branding on it. It'd be great in gift shops on a cruise line because everyone flies to go to a cruise.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So Mike, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I'll say it in a second.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying we're definitely trying a lot of different avenues. I've been in contact with a couple international airlines, and I do think it's going to work very well internationally. We're trying to actually start selling in the Europe and Canada, right? So we're trying to expand it.
Do you have a U.S. patent? That's just all you have?
I have 2 utility patents and a design patent.
But they're U.S. patents, right?
Yeah, I have the window for international. International are very tough. But we are looking at another angle internationally. I'm actually talking to my attorney about, which I won't get into, but
you got a couple attorneys here probably be interested in.
Yeah. Well,
Mike, do you have any open cases that are still open and in prosecution in that family?
for patents,
Yeah, or is everything issued?
everything is issued. It did take, but it took me 4 years.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. What was the most recent issuance date?
I want to say, well, don't they go back to your filing dates?
No, but the issue date, like, was it most recently issued in the last 2 years?
I think it was 2018.
Okay.
I filed it in 2014, and it finally issued in 2018. I had to literally do 3 appeals, and I actually ended up I submitted one patent. I ended up getting 2 out of the 3 appeals, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And then recommended that I do a design patent to really secure. So I patent immediately.
So I saw that, yeah, that, I have a case under my belt too, where we went and argued to the PTAB and reversed the examiner. It's not, I mean, it happens for sure, but it's a challenging thing to get the examiner reversed. So that's, I think, a really good thing. No, where I was going with it is just thinking, if you had something open in the family, I know that your concept was designed for commercial airline, but really, like, the fundamental concept of a foldable thing that's insertable into some kind of an opening. I mean, that would be a great use for automobiles too. So
Trains.
have you thought about that?
I have, yes. And actually, part of my design patent, if you've searched it,
I did.
I believe it's on one of the utilities also. There's some features that are cut into it that actually could definitely be developed into those situations. I have done some testing, but not enough. But I mean, at one point, I probably will look down some of those avenues just to expand the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
'Cause,
you can think even in an automobile, right? Even
yeah.
forget the guy in the middle, which is, he's got the hump to deal with too. But in the back seat at least. But usually the cup holders, like, I love my Subaru, but the cup holders in the middle are just size squirrely, and they're inconvenient and they're insufficient. And it'd be a great addition for a lot of purposes. You could make it a little more robust so that you chuck it in the back of the car when you're not using it. But I mean, I'm sure you've thought about all of this, but this is the kind of stuff that comes to my mind.
One other person, so it must really be a problem. You're the second one I heard about Subaru.
I love my Subaru, but there's a few design features where I'm thinking, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah, no, I like Subarus too. You're the second person that mentioned Subaru. That's interesting. But yes, no, it's definitely, if you do go through some of my patents, you're going to see some unusual, like, little things. And I did throw those in. I said, you know what, these might be useful to throw in. And some of them can definitely develop into attaching or, used on different substrates pertaining to cars and trains and possibly buses. I haven't really searched. I don't know about a train. You really need, some consistent stuff to.
No, but it makes good sense. And I confessedly, I found your patents. I looked a little bit at sort of your file history, but I
Right.
did not have time to read them. So I'm really happy to hear that you got all of that stuff tucked in there, because it seems to me that there's a lot more you could do with this over time, than going beyond airplanes. It's cool.
Right. A lot of time to tuck it in, since it took 3 years.
Yeah,
Got a
went-
question
no, it's
for you.
true.
It went back times. Yeah.
I got a question for you. Did you work with any prototyping companies or marketing companies or anything to help you develop this and get it on the market?
To get it on the market, I initially actually kind of created my own prototype. Then I had a professional one done, and then I did work with a designer to actually get it out and draw me, specific drawings so that I could have it manufactured. And that person actually helped me out a lot with design and functionality. It's good to always get other people's opinions when you're creating something and listen to them. You know what I mean? It's really important. And take
Absolutely.
into consideration. And I love people's opinion. I love to hear what they have to say, and I learn from it. I believe that there is no real constructive criticism is definitely real, and it only makes, think more and actually become smarter, especially with our product.
That makes sense. I agree. Right. Yeah. And you got to be willing to take the brutal, feedback. Sometimes it's just off the wall and not useful, but, sometimes you have to stop and say, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And product, your negative feedback, and I have gotten some, but the majority has been great. It's been a very small minority is great, but you're always going to get that, and you just can't let that take you down. You have to keep pushing, because negative in any product.
I think once it sounds to me like you said you've manufactured or sold 5,000 or 6,000, right? So I would say
Approximately.
that when you start to get up around 50,000 or 100,000, you need to make some fancier ones for all those arrogant people who sit in first class. And, with some gold plated ones or platinum plated ones or silver
Yeah.
plated ones.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty soon people will be sitting there taking them out of their briefcase or whatever. And the people say, oh, where'd you get that gold one at?
Yeah. I printed
That's-
some up with designer prints on them, but to release them to the public, again, you want to keep it simple. You don't want to give people too many options. People have asked about color a lot, including this airline asked about color. But color is a much more, it's a larger investment.
Well,
Another question for you. As your company continues to grow, assuming that it does, it looks like it may very well, and you have to become a CEO and such, are you thinking that you really want to run a big corporation, or do you think you might go the licensing route or some other way to gracefully ease yourself out of big business?
Well, I could really honestly, it's a tough one, I guess. I mean, of course, we all want to be successful with our product. So a big corporation, I'm more of the type that I would be open to bringing people in to help me at that point. I'm not a greedy person at all. So to become a big corporation, I would definitely depend on other good people to help me to grow it. Other than that, I have a lot of ideas. So I wouldn't, it wouldn't, as long as my idea becomes successful, and I kind of always just wanted to, put my mark on the world, I think, as an inventor, especially in aviation that I love. I would definitely be open to passing it on or sending it to a new, having a corporation take it over, and reap the benefits that way. Because I do have a lot of other ideas that I would like to exercise too.
Well, if you want to go outside the U.S., I mean, we have a lot of airlines here, headquartered here in the U.S., but God knows how many there are outside of the borders. So you need somebody to go out there and sell it.
I actually speak to this woman that I've been trying to get in touch with, but she's been having some issues with her former company. But that's what she does, is she literally sells products to the airlines where they, especially airlines that still have a catalog or sell products online. And that's what all international airlines, and that's what she's done for 20 years. And I'm actually trying to get her on board, because that's definitely a very big European.
For all the airlines that have in their backseat pockets, they got those stupid magazines, advertising things that are some outlandish and all of them too expensive. You should approach one of them and say, well, here's a nice little magazine insert, and they can attach it or insert it or whatever, and there goes a couple thousand out the door for sure.
Yeah, I like the insert idea actually, but it was brought up in the meeting in my presentation from the airline. They were talking about putting it in their in-flight magazine. I'm not sure what the angle would be, though. Once again, I mean, do I have to fulfill it? These are the things you have to think. Do you fulfill it? Do I sell them to you? Do you sell them? There's a lot of questions to be answered with that. I would be very open to that, because I think that would be a circulation.
You need a staff.
Yeah.
I've got two suggestions for your product.
Yeah.
First one is, I think that you should offer to monogram them. Some people might view that as a sign of prestige, to put that out in front of their chair with their initials. And it also will distinguish it if somebody sitting next to them has one also. If everything on the market's going to be the same color. I mean, that's one suggestion. But another suggestion is, on every one you should have raised letters with the name of your company and your phone number and your email address, so that everybody who sees this can order one or contact you.
Correct. It does have it on the back.
Okay.
I didn't show you. And there's also directions actually, so that if you don't know what the product is, you happen to stumble across it. There's actually directions right here. And yes, all my information is on here, patent information and everything, and actually usage. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And what I do is when I do sell these as a marketing tool, or I'm sorry, as a, you know, promotional product, I recommend and tell everyone, and has done it, that you leave the back the way it is. So that keeps my branding on there, and they can go to my website to also see more information. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, yet they see the front and they see the branding, like AAA, or, you know, some of the companies I've done. But yes,
And
you're
you would
absolutely
make that a requirement of any deal anyway, is, you know, because you want to make sure you mark, or else you can enforce, but you don't get any damages if you don't mark.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a great idea anyways, because a lot of people, otherwise it'll be in their hands to actually explain the product. You know, they have to go to my website to see it. You know, for more information, you go to my website for usage and everything, and more, you know, more ways to use it and such. I think it's just smart for anybody to have it on their promotional product. To keep people using it and keep your brand in front of you. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got any other questions?
We would have preferred an in-person presentation, so you could have handed these out to us to all take.
Well, Chris, they're great gifts. You know, they're unique and one of a kind. So
Well,
Christmas is coming.
yeah,
yeah,
check with us in a year or so when we're recovered from the pandemic, and we might have you come over and bring some with you and hand them out. Of course, we
yeah.
only got, what do we got, 6 people here tonight? A little disappointing, but
If I was there, I would have definitely a BevLedge for every.
well,
Yeah.
we're gonna, when we get into next year, we're gonna start testing the in-person market
Yeah.
meet like we used to have, which we'd have anywhere from 15 to 30 people depending on the topic. So I don't know if you've made any other presentations to Inventors Group or anything like that, but our pains over the last couple of years, we found out a lot of Inventors Groups are on the rocks. Some of them are coming back, some of them aren't. So
Yeah,
we plan on coming back one way or another.
I think it will. I think it would definitely had a spike, especially when I was doing my patent work. I think that's when Shark Tank was very popular. I think it was exploding, and I think that the problems with my patent, right? Getting my patents. I think your examiners get lazy. They want to tell you no. Is that correct? Is
You
she
know,
there?
they just have their own perspective. I mean, I think it's a fairly young examining corps in a lot of ways, and so everything they see is obvious, and you can just get really unlucky and get an examiner who just digs in. You can't get rid of them, and you have no choice but to fight them, you know, and take it all the way to an appeal. And that's just really frustrating. And then, you know, there's some examiners that go over way too easy, and they give you claims that, you know, they shouldn't give you probably.
I do agree it that way too. You're absolutely right. I think they're just way too lenient. I do agree. What my attorneys did though is they were determined. They literally, you know, like any smart attorney, I think they looked at the examiner's background, how many claims, or how many, you know, he's actually thrown, you know, put through, or whatever you call it. You know what I'm saying? How many, you know, awarded. And they just looked at his history, and they found out a lot of things about him, and they realized that, you know what, he really doesn't award. So I think they took it as the challenge that, you know what, we're going, even though it does cost some. But in the end, luckily it did pay off in the end.
You know, I have 3 patents, and the first patent, I almost hate to admit this, but I was very curious about the patent process and how hard it would be. And I had a full-time job, and I'm an engineer, and I like to solve problems. And I had just a silly little problem, was crushing aluminum cans. Now, without getting into it, I drew up the whole patent, and I went to the website and copied things and all that, and put the thing together, and had a patent lawyer. I his name was Pat. I can't remember his last name, but anyway, I called him up and I said, "You look over this patent for me before I send it." He says, "Okay." He looked it over and we didn't send it in and put the fee, which was a small entity. And he said, "All right, now go relax and do something else. Occupy your time for a year or so." And I said, "Well, my God," I said, "don't these people are government employees? Can't they operate any faster than that? At least acknowledge that they received it." In 6 months, and I had started, when I first did this, I had started another job, and I got a phone call 6 months after that started that job, and this guy, he was what the heck was he? He was Vietnamese patent examiner, and he calls me up and he goes, "Mike Strang," and I go, "Yeah." And he says, "You got this patent, blah blah, whatever." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "This did you do this yourself?" And I said, "For the most part, yeah." He said, "Well, you made a couple mistakes, and if we can correct those mistakes over the phone now, I said, I can issue you a patent." And I thought, "Oh my God, from what I've heard, this is unbelievable." And but you know what what he did? He said, "I think you have 2 patents here." And I said, "I don't see how that can be." Well, I'm not in the mood to argue with somebody that's going to give me something. So we made the changes, and I had my patent in less than a year. And the patent lawyer I use goes, I think he's still in shock over that. I forget his last name, Mike Jacobson. Do you remember Pat, the very heavy set guy?
Phillips.
Phillips, yes, Pat Phillips.
Used to work for Kremlis and Foster.
Yeah,
Oh.
and I was very happy, and it was, to me, it was just an exercise of examining a process and understanding how it worked. But then 3 years later, they sent me daggone bill for I forget how many hundreds of dollars. So I still pay it, the maintenance fee. So have you had yours for a year yet, or 3 years? Your patents?
Yeah, I just paid my first maintenance fee actually.
Oh, and
Yeah.
it keeps going up.
Well, I had my first patent. God, I want to say 1994, and
Oh, okay.
my maintenance fee then was like 2,500.
Yeah.
And I just paid like 6. Does that ring a bell at all? No.
That seems
Well,
kind of high. Oh, you mean for that earlier patent? Yeah,
I
that makes
remember
sense.
I actually let my first patent go because, first of all, I couldn't really make it was a grilling accessory. I really couldn't make numbers work. And I tried to present it to Weber and everybody, and Williams Sonoma and Target, and the numbers just didn't work to make profit. So I ended up letting it go. But no, it was very, very high, I thought. And then now when I got my build lately, I think it's only like 600, right?
Well, the first maintenance fee, and you should be a small entity, right? You're a
Yeah.
small entity. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So the first one is palatable. The second one, it gets higher, and then the last one in the US is pretty big. But if you file internationally, depends on the jurisdiction. So Japan, they don't charge you any maintenance fees until your patent's granted. But Europe, it's an escalating every year while you're pending.
Wow.
So you can pay a big old pile of money in Europe.
Wow. Interesting.
you better have something that's making money.
Yeah.
Either
It
that,
depends. Canada has pending. You have to pay maintenance fees for pendency. Different jurisdictions have different rules, but some they're going to get their money one way or the other.
Yeah.
well, we're at 7:49, and we seem to be drifting away from the topic. So if you don't have anything else you want to say, Mike, we can wind this up. And I want to talk to most of the people here are trustees or directors, so I want to have a few words with them before 8 o'clock.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
Mike, very impressive. Did a beautiful job. I think it's a really cool product. Good luck to you.
Hopefully you'll see it someday on your next flight.
Yeah, exactly.
I was impressed with it, and maybe down the road when we have an in-person meeting and you're in Chicago, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 5-hour drive. What the heck?
I'm in Columbus. I'm in Columbus. I'm actually doing a project there. I'm in the construction business. I'm doing a project in Dayton, so I'll be in Columbus often.
Oh, really? What you're in?
I like Columbus, actually. I do.
Yeah. Well, say in 6 months or so, give me a call and maybe we'll have something to set up.
That'd be
Because
great.
I think the membership, if we had an in-person meeting, I think they'd like this. But be sure and bring, a couple dozen of those dudes. All
Of
right.
course.
Thanks a
Yeah.
lot. We'll talk to you later.
Well,
Bye,
thank you
Mike.
very much, and nice meeting all of you.
Okay,
You
bye.
too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Mike.
All right, bye-bye.
Good luck.